Hi, I'm Stephen Bagley. Welcome to the Many Rivers Harbor Video Chat 3. Today we're talking with author Heath Stallcup about his short stories in the new anthology Blackbirds Second Flight and his own books. Hello, Heath. How are you?
I'm good, Stephen. How are you doing?
And okay. Heath, you have two short stories in Blackbird's Second Flight. The first one of those is called Gangsters. Tell us a little bit about how Gangsters came to be.
Oh, um, that's kind of tough. A lot of times, scenes will pop into my head. Um, Gangsters was supposed to be a full size, a full length novel. Um, that scene was one that I'd had bouncing around for years, and I finally decided to put pen to paper, so to speak. And once I started it, I realized, okay, while it might make a really good intro, the rest of the story was kind of going downhill. It flopped. So I cut it back to what Gangsters is now, changed the end a little bit. And even though I'm not a short story writer, I thought, well, I'll save it for later. And maybe once I get 10 or 12 more sometime down the road, I always wanted to publish my own short story book and call it My Dirty Shorts. Even though the stories aren't dirty, it just sounded like a really cool title. And I sat on it. Uh, I, like I said, I'm not a short story writer. So when you hit me up to join the anthology, I thought, well, there's nothing I could really contribute. And then I thought, that's not true. I had this one, which luckily you guys liked it. So
Your second story in the anthology is called Reflections, and I believe this was it's based on an earlier story that had a different name, but it was for
right,
a special anthology, wasn't it?
yeah, it was. I used to be with May December Publications, and every year they put together a short story anthology for a cause. That one was put into a cancer anthology. All of the proceeds went to cancer research. Um, this year they did one for diabetes, and I submitted a story for it too. That was my first real attempt. Um, Reflections originally was titled Memories, and it was my first attempt at writing anything first person. And I really didn't care for it. My wife read it, a couple of betas read it, they liked it, so I thought, okay, I'd let them have it. And it was well received. I was kind of surprised, but I'll take it.
Now, you're not a short story writer, you told us, but you are definitely a book story writer. I mean, a
Oh,
book writer, because
yes.
you have several books that are standalones, and you also have a very popular series, the Monster Squad series. Talk to us
Yes.
a little bit about that.
Well, the Monster Squad, it started out basically as a dare from my wife. She reads nonstop. She goes through books like most people go through socks. And one night we were laying in bed. She was reading. She started giggling. And like most husbands always hear, you never listen to me. You never care about what I'm doing. So I just asked her, I said, what are you reading? And she said, oh, it's such and such. I said, well, what are you laughing at? Oh, it'd take too long to explain. So I egged her on. I said, well, no, go ahead. Explain. Tell me what's going on. So she told me the story, and it was a Twilight type book where little girls are chasing vampires, and oh, I hope he loves me. And I, I was floored. I was like, why? They ought to break the leg off the coffee table and ram it up his undead rear end because he's a monster. And she just rolled her eyes. She said, well, that'd make a short story, don't you think? I said, well, it'd be more exciting. Um, and then I got to messing with her, and I was like, they ought to have Navy SEALs out there hunting these guys down instead of. We just watched Supernatural that night, so I said instead of two emo brothers driving around in a POS Chevy who had daddy issues and spent more time fighting with each other than they did with the monsters. And she just kind of blew me off, and I kept on, and I kept aggravating her. She said, well, fine, why don't you write it? And I said, well, maybe I will. That was my first mistake. Um, she hounded me nonstop for about 6 weeks until I actually started it. And like probably 75 other projects, I started it and then dropped it. I thought, yeah, I'm not going to mess with it. Well, at the time, I had a very old computer with a very small hard drive. So about once a year, I'd go through and just clean out dead files. And I found a Word document. All I said was my story. And I opened it because I was like, what is this? This is 9 months later, and I'd forgotten about it. And I'm reading it, and I think, hey, this has got potential. So that eventually became the first chapter of the first book. And I made a mistake of telling her, okay, I went back, I'm finishing this story. And she got all excited. She wanted to read it. And, well, the story, I told her, was going to be a trilogy because I couldn't wrap it all up into one book. And the trilogy turned into 4. And I really thought when that 4th book was done, I could just put it down and walk away. But my editor, my publisher, and I hate to say the word fans, but I actually have a few, wouldn't let me stop. They said the characters are too well developed. We like them. We want to see more. So then came the next saga. It just kind of took off on its own. People ask me, how do you do it? I have to know the beginning. I have to know the end. And whatever happens in between happens. The story tells itself. I just type it. And I kind of liken it to life. We all have a beginning. We all have an end. It's what we do in between that's the adventure. I've been surprised that I'm a storyteller. I'm not an author. I tell my stories. People read them. They like them. And I'm very blessed that they do. But the Monster Squad, my intent was, oh, it's just going to be, good guys, bad guys, and they're going to kill each other. Oh, no, 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 no. It developed itself. There is romance. There is drama. There's humor. It hasn't been well received by everybody, but I'd say 95% of those who have read it enjoyed it. So let's see, the 7th book in the series is at the editor now. I'm in penning the 8th, and I hope to have it done in the next month or 2. I just have to get back into writing. I actually took time off for the holidays, and it's kind of like working out or going to the gym. If you stop, it's real hard to get going again. To get those creative juices flowing, I've been working on some other projects. The standalone books you talked about, or that you mentioned earlier, I've actually been working on some sequels to those. And that's all I can think of.
But now you actually had a Monster Squad title that came out this year, right? In February, wasn't it, or January?
Yes, that would have been number 6.
Number 6
in the series. Yeah, that was the most recent release. The first 4 books made one saga, and the next 4 books is supposed to be the next saga. There's probably 6 months between the end of 4 and the beginning of 5. The whole premise is one big bad threat that is, threatening all of mankind, and they have to snuff it out. In between the fights and building up the threat and all the clues where they discover what's going on, there's life. There's relationship issues. There's, these are military operators, so they're going to butt heads. Not everybody's one big fat happy family. Most of my characters are based off of real people that I've known. The names are not the same, but their characteristics are. And it's like any group, any team, not everybody gets along. So I try to cover the full gambit, but sometimes, I've had people say, well, this person's behavior doesn't fit the character. Well, maybe not while you're reading it now, but in following books, you'll see why they behave the way they did. I'm hoping that the finish of this saga will be what the readers wanted, because the end of the first saga, I heard a lot of people, oh well, it was too fast. It should have been 200 more pages of battle. Not really. That's the way the story told itself. That's the way I wrote it. That's the way it happened in that universe. But I'm hoping that this next one will be a big enough bang that they'll walk away thinking, okay, yeah, that was worth the read.
Well, Heath, we're nearly out of time. I sure appreciate you being with us today. You have any last comments?
No, just pick up Blackbirds and read it. There's a lot of really good authors in there, and they let me join them, so I think you'll definitely enjoy it.
Thank you, Heath, and we thank all of you for watching, and you have a good day.